What up, everybody? It's the Rottweiler Patriots. I'm Vegas.
And I'm Tebow.
And we're coming at you with another video today where we're going to discuss our thoughts on the NFL's new kickoff rule proposal. The NFL, of course, has a new kickoff rule proposal looking to get it approved. And to put it bluntly, we do not like it. It is terrible. Absolute dog water, Bush League bull crap. Get it out of here. We do not want it in the NFL. It is absolutely terrible. Please and thank you, but no. No, 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 and no. So, of course, in order for us to actually really get into all of this, we first want to explain what the actual rules are. Because, of course, not everyone here knows the rule, understands, etc. So we want to actually, of course, explain the rule, show it to you, and then we'll actually be able to talk about it. So first things first, you're going to have the kicker kicking off from the 35-yard line. That does not change. But all other players on the kicking team must be lined up at the opposing team's 40, with at least 1 foot on the 40-yard line. 2 of those players must be outside the numbers on each side. 2 of those players must be in between the numbers and the hashes on each side. And the other 2 players must be in between the hashes. That cannot change, and all players must be lined up on the 40. Now, if you look at the receiving team, you have here a setup zone from the 30 to the 35-yard line. 9 players must be in this zone. 6 of them must have their foot on the 35-yard line. There is no rule for where they must be in the zone in terms of being across the field, but 6 of them must have their foot on the 35. You may then have 3 other players floating in this zone. They can start wherever they want in the zone. Now, here then you have a landing zone that goes from the end zone to the 20-yard line. You may have 2 returners in this landing zone. The kicker must kick the ball into the landing zone. If the ball is kicked over the landing zone, into the end zone, or out the back of the end zone, it will be a touchback, and the ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. If the kicker kicks it out of bounds or short of the landing zone, the ball is placed at the 40-yard line. When the ball is kicked off, the kicker cannot cross the 50-yard line until the ball is caught. No player on either team in the setup area may move until a returner catches the ball or the ball hits the ground. And the receiving team players lined up on the 35-yard line cannot start their run forwards. Now, you all might be looking at this and wondering, well, how would an onside kick work? Well, dear viewer, an onside kick would only occur in the 4th quarter by the losing team, and it must be announced beforehand. And then, teams will be able to line up exactly as they do now, with the caveat that you may stack 6 people on one side. So gone are the days of the surprise onside kick with this. You can only do it in the 4th quarter, only the losing team can do it, and you must announce it beforehand. And that, in essence, is the NFL's rule proposal. T-Bone, I would love to get your thoughts on this.
I mean, I think honestly, the beginning part of discussing sort of the formatting of kickoffs is stupid. But I really do, in my opinion, I think the biggest sin for me here is the onside kicking. That really gets my goat. I cannot stand that. Are you kidding me? I mean, I think this kind of plays into the whole diminishing of special teams already. Because I mean, I see stupid crap online about how people think special teams is dumb, and that I think it's what makes football. I think it's part of what makes the game. I love onside kicks. I love safeties and I love onside kicks. They're great. I love it when they happen. It's awesome. And part of that fun is sort of the will they, won't they? Are you going to take the onside kick or will you not? So I mean, if this rule was implemented 15 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to see the trick onside kick in Drew Brees' Super Bowl. So, I really it just bothers me that they obviously, the saying is don't mess with perfect, and clearly the NFL isn't perfect. But I mean, seriously, part of the fun of this game for me is onside kicks, and I know many other people think that as well. And I hate that. I hate trying to meddle with that. I think onside kicks are great, and the whole only the losing team, and you have to let them know in the fourth quarter. Are we kidding ourselves? You're trying to. Anything can happen on any given Sunday, and you are now kind of restricting that by implementing more rules. It's horrible. I can't stand it. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a huge part of it for me, and that's, a big fundamental of kind of some of the ideas I had for the kickoff, because of course, we are also, in a little bit, going to present our own idea for kickoff rules that tries to, solve everybody's problems without actually losing the kickoff. Because we don't want to be those guys who just sit out there, yell and complain, this sucks, and then not actually offer a tangible solution of our own. Because, of course, the NFL seems to think that there's this problem with injuries on the kickoff that they would like to solve. Now, I'm not familiar with that data and how accurate it is, or what the NFL is doing, but I do know that this is not the solution to their problems. This isn't just like a few tweaks to try to solve it. This is fundamentally changing the kickoff to be something that it's not. And it's not just, of course, the onside kick stuff. That stuff is garbage. It's also, the way the touchback is, where you have to kick it in the landing zone. Players must be lined up exactly this way. Like, there's a little bit of room for special teams coordinators to operate, but I wouldn't say it's a ton. It's not as much as it used to be. And so it's just not the kickoff. This they're calling it a hybrid XFL kickoff. No, it's an XFL kickoff, but with a few less limitations. That's really and truly what it is. This isn't an NFL football kickoff, and I don't want it to become an NFL football kickoff. Plain and simple. And so now that we've kind of discussed our thoughts on all of this, we're going to, of course, propose our own solution to the problem. So, you see, you have an empty field here. Kicker would kick the ball off at the 35-yard line. All other players on the kicking team would be lined up somewhere between the 30 and the 35-yard line. At least 4 players must be on each side of the kicker. At least 2 players outside the numbers on each side. At least 2 players in between the numbers and hashes on each side. And then at least 1 player must be in between the hashes. Now, you have a couple of different options here. You could either create a balanced formation, or you could stack up 6 people on one side. This, of course, opens up stuff for onside kicks and other kickoff packages, so we want to bring this back. And then, of course, your alternate look would be a balanced look. As you can see here, you have 5 on each side. But that is what the rules are. That's what's set up mean. And, of course, the players on the kicking team are allowed to actually get a pre-kick run-up. This is more for the sake of onside kicks than anything else. We want to see more onside kick recoveries. And I think one of the biggest rule changes that the NFL made that prevented that was not being able to get that head start run. So that is for the sake of onside kick recoveries. Then, of course, it's like, okay, what about the extra run-up? That is something that we actually have addressed to a degree here. We'll get to that bit later, but we'll finish discussing our setup. Now, if we go over to the receiving team, they must have at least 6 players line up between the 45-yard line of the kicking team and their own 45. So you have this 10-yard range of space where at least 6 players must line up, and you may have up to 8 players in this space. And of course, at least 1 player must be outside the numbers on each side, and at least 2 players must be between the numbers and the hashes on each side. So you see here you have 6 people. You can then have 5 people outside of the zone lined up wherever they want on the field. Obviously, this would be towards their own end, because if they're on the other side of the 45 and the opposing team's end, they would be in an offsides position. So, but then you can have up to 8 players occupying in the zone, and they don't have to line up on a line or anything. They can be spaced out wherever they wish in the zone, and the same applies for where you are lined up in between the 30 and the 35 for the kicking team. And of course, the other players may position themselves however they please outside of this zone. Now, of course, as mentioned before, all kicking team players may get a running start as long as they don't cross the 35-yard line until the ball is kicked. Of course, you have the running start, you have the concerns about that for the injuries. Well, the counter to this is that no player on the kicking team may cross the opposing team's 40-yard line until the ball either hits the ground or is caught. And so that's going to force them to slow up, or they're going to have to slow up and maybe try to time it, or they're just going to slow up around the 50, time it, whatever. But that is intended to slow them down, because at the end of the day, these guys can get to the 30-yard line before the ball is caught, especially if it's a real hanger. So that forces them to stay back and not have that extra speed going in. And then, of course, on the other side of it, you have the receiving team, and all players beyond the 30-yard line must drop back to their own 30 before they may run forward, or the ball must hit the ground. If the ball hits the ground, or it is caught, they may run forward. If not, they must go back to the 30. Or, if you are in a position to catch the ball, you are allowed to try and make a play on it. This is, of course, intended to force them to actually, drop back and not get their own running starts, number 1. But number 2, you also are hoping to not eliminate you force them to run backwards. You still want them to have a chance at the onside kick, so if they're in a position to make a play on the ball, they're allowed to go back and try to make it. Or if the ball, doing's on the ground, they don't have to run back to their own 30. So, that is that. And then no players may initiate any contact with a player on the opposing team until the ball hits the ground or is caught. It's a little bit of a variation on what the kickoff is, and to some degree what it was, because you do bring back some things like being able to have that running start and being able to stack 6 guys on one side. So it's really trying to keep the elements of the kickoff that we like, especially with the onside kick stuff, but also address the NFL's safety concerns, which we feel this does. The other changes we would make is that if the ball is kicked through the uprights, you can see the purple zone in the upright on the right, it is a touchback at the 20-yard line. If the ball is kicked into the end zone, or a returner kneels it for a touchback, like the ball lands in the end zone or even on the field of play and dribbles into the end zone, or it is caught in the end zone and knelt down or is a fair catch, that would result in a touchback at the 25-yard line. And if the ball is kicked out of bounds through the end zone, so if the ball lands out of bounds after passing through the end zone, that would be a touchback and the ball would be placed at the 30 yard line. And that, of course, is to add a bit of gamesmanship and then to also encourage balls to be kicked that are more likely to be returned because the NFL wants to have the return, but also they want there to be more returns because it is, at the end of the day, an exciting play. They don't want all these balls kicked through for a touchback. So we're trying to discourage teams from just blasting it out the back of the end zone unless they're confident that they are able to get it between the uprights. Then you give them a reward. So there's a risk-reward, and then it allows teams to decide how they want to play certain things. And so that is, in essence, our proposal for this. T-Bone, I want to get your thoughts on this. What do you like about this? What don't you like about this? Etc.
I mean, I think it's a great little proposal that you and I were able to cook up. I mean, really, I think probably my most favorite part about this is the kicking through the uprights. I think that's so neat. I just like it. I think something to be said. I mean, it's not really what I like or dislike, but I mean, it's a fact. I mean, you made sort of the you made sort of the our rendition. You made it equitable. You know, you gave both sides a fair shot. You didn't give give anyone the shaft. You really tried to make it an equitable kickoff. And I mean, I remember you breaking that up. Those hangers. Some guys have a freaking leg, man. And like you said, these guys can blitz to the other side, just absolutely speed, while the ball's still in the air. And so, I think giving a little bit of waiting time is good. I've always been a proponent of that. I mean, not really much that I don't like. I mean, I love the way it's formatted. So, I mean, I think you put it perfectly. So, it's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I do think we've done a good job of encapsulating the spirit of the NFL kickoff, what we think it should be, while leaving in all of the gamesmanship and even adding a little bit new of our own, because I've actually liked the upright. Like, I've had this thought, you kick a ball through the uprights, it's a touchback at the 20 for a while now. You know, if they, implemented that tomorrow, I'd be very happy with that. We did our own little tweaks to it just to affect the gamesmanship, because at the end of the day, the NFL does want to generate more returns. We also did our best to address, their player safety issues without destroying the kickoff, which they feel they have to do for their player safety issues. So it's a really, really tough needle to thread, and we understand why the NFL's having a tough time threading it. We think we've threaded it far better than they did, mostly because we actually have kept the spirit of the kickoff intact, at least in our eyes. But if you think we haven't, we would love to get your thoughts. Anything else as well, please be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. We would love to hear what you all have to say. And that is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button. Please be sure to subscribe. And we will see you all in the next video.